Welcome back to the Blister and Muck podcast. I'm Jenny Mason, your host and the creator of the Blister and Muck series. This week, Blister and Muck hijack a sailboat and take up piracy. It's all fun and games until someone loses an aye. Speaking of pirates, what do you call a pirate with 2 legs and 2 eyes? A rookie. Of course, we all know pirates pay a buccaneer for jewelry, but do you know the going rate for a hook and a peg? Evidently, they cost an arm and a leg. My producers have asked me to quit punishing my listeners, and instead help you understand why the rats commandeer a boat. All I can say is, y'all knew this would happen sooner or later. Blister's philosophies on adopting forgotten items were built on a slippery sloop. To be fair, his past experiences may be partly to blame. Blister has endured many a hardship. Does that mean, then, that piracy is the peg legacy of poverty? I suppose it's not fair to speculate. What we need is some expert opinions. If only we could interview a pirate. Then we'd know we were approaching this complex topic with real accuracy. I'll tell you what, while you sit back and enjoy this episode, I'll get in touch with an actual pirate. Does anyone have an iPhone I can borrow? Episode 3, The PiRATS. The next day, Dr. Stash arrived to administer his latest experimental treatment. He swore it was a miraculous cure-all from the Far East. Blister and Muck struck out across town to enjoy a holiday at Oddvine Park. They were especially eager to vacate the bell tower when the physician arrayed dozens of needles. Each one was thinner than a thread in spindle's web. Dr. Stash explained, "Acu is Latin for with a needle, and puncture, also Latin, means to prick. The treatment is thousands of years old, and is widely used in the Orient. No need to worry." Seltzer snowed feathers. Horchata pecked at the ground. On the streets, and to Blister's great surprise, Muck traveled the city unseen all the way. Blister heaped so much praise on his own teaching that there was none to spare for any influence Madame Putreska's training might have had. At the park, summer baked itself into everything, crisping the grassy lawns and shimmering the surfaces of the ponds and fountains. Trees thick with leaves saluted. The shrubs showed off their floral jewelry. Magpies giggled as they swooped over the park's many amblers and picnickers. In their black and white suits, the birds were proper con artists, filching bright objects or food bits. Blister and Muck raced under the cover of the shrubs until the Hee-da-loo-dee song of a calliope brought them both to an immediate stop. "Vexler!" Muck exclaimed. Blister pulled back some leaves and surveyed the surroundings. "Doesn't look like him." He pointed to a young man in a striped shirt and flat boating hat. Bright balloons stretched their strings, which were tied to the side of a gleaming calliope cart. Children swarmed the man and offered him coins. Once they had a balloon in hand, they ran away, glee squealing. Muck inspected the balloon salesman carefully. At last, he agreed with Blister. It was not Vexler Q. Drummel. "That rancid rascal better not cross my path, or I'll give him a brutal bruising, a crippling crimsoning." Muck chopped and punched the air. He absolutely resembled Madame Putreska, until his fist accidentally struck a branch that struck back. Blister laughed, but helped the rat back on his feet. "Oh, I say, that smarts significantly." He rubbed his snout and straightened his whiskers.
"Hey, Muck, looky there."
Blister indicated a child's sailboat abandoned by the pond.
"Last rat there is a rotten egg."
Blister raced to the boat. Muck chuffed behind. "Surely, you don't intend to scoop that sloop?"
"Ahoy, matey!"
With Muck's reluctant help, Blister shoved the boat into the water. He hopped on and hoisted Muck aboard. The ship glided across the big pond. A stout breeze fattened the sails. Curious koi fish flickered out of the murky water, their orange and white bodies like glowing lanterns. Muck stretched out on the deck while Blister steered the rudder. The clouds made long, angular, triumphant pennants. "Such a surprise to see you sail with such symbiotic serenity," Muck said. "To see you command and captain this clipper with categorical competence."
"Everyone has their secrets,"
Blister shrugged, thinking of Muck's family tragedy and Yana's strange transformation in the cab. "Indeed," Muck sighed, wondering about Blister's untold past. "All this time, I have been canonically convinced you were a musketeer because of all your one-for-one and none-for-all business. Dangerous duels, heroic horse riding, and so forth."
"Definitely not," Blister said. "Pirate stories. Now those are my gravy and potatoes. Fellas who took whatever they wanted."
"Braved the squealing squalls and intense isolation of the sea," Muck contributed. He rolled up and joined Blister at the rudder.
"Lived by their own rules," Blister continued.
"Sailed beyond the boundaries of the earth, confounding all confinements." Muck bounced with enthusiasm.
"Just like One-Eyed William."
"Indeed. Or Peg-Legged Priscilla."
"Calico Jack."
"Gunpowder Gertie."
"Long John Silver."
"Blackbeard." Muck clapped his paws together. "Oh, Blister, how whimsically wonderful that the buccaneers bewitch the both of us."
"Belay that boast a moment."
Blister drew a pretend cutlass. He leveled the invisible yet dangerous tip at Muck's heart.
"Who be your favorite sea rover of all time?"
Muck played along and leaned away from the imaginary weapon. "Ye can't make me tell."
"But I can make ye walk the plank. Avast!"
Blister swung the air sword, aiming to remove Muck's head. Muck drew his own pretend cutlass and parried the attack. The rats swashbuckled back and forth across the deck. They added all the necessary clink, tink, and swish sounds until the battle appeared entirely real. At one point, Blister attempted a backward somersault to avoid one of Muck's surprisingly aggressive lunging thrust cuts. But he misjudged the distance separating him from the boom of a sail. The acrobatic attempt stumbled, crumpled, and eventually flopped Blister back against the gunwale. Muck sealed the distance in a wink. Now he leveled his invisible cutlass at Blister's heart. "Huzzah! Yar-har! Ye lumbering landlubber! I'll make ye dance the hempen hoist jig. I'll—" The ship lurched so suddenly, both Blister and Muck were tossed across the deck. After they helped each other up, they discovered the ship had run aground. They hopped overboard and shoved the boat, but it refused to budge from its muddy bed in the pond's beach.
"Heave!"
Blister shouted, and the two rats pushed the ship. "Ho!" Muck seconded, and again they shoved.
"Heave!"
"Ho!" Both rats pushed so hard, their feet slid back in the mud, and they flopped flat on their bellies. Chuckles corrupted Blister's cheer.
"Heave!"
Giggles bubbled through Muck's call, too. Ho, 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 ho. The laughter overwhelmed them until they heard many feet cashing over the gravel pathways as all the people raced out of Oddvine Park. "What's happening?" Muck asked.
Don't know, but we better wash up and get out too,
Blister answered. From the street that bordered the park came the song of many trumpets. Deet-dat-daddy-daddle-deet-dat-doo-da, deet-dat-daddy-daddle-deet-dat-doo-da. Flutes hootled, drums doom-tapped. Cymbals twashed.
It's a parade,
Blister said as he climbed out of the pond water and shook off.
Want to go see it?
My answer is ostensibly obvious, I should think.
I'll take that as a yes.
Instead of following the rush of people stampeding out of the park, Blister led Muck to a massive oak tree whose boughs hung over the black iron fence. He helped Muck ascend the smooth bark stubbled with moss. The street was empty, but the sidewalks held a thick buffer of spectators. They all craned their necks, eyes spearing in the direction of the music. Then, at last, the parade emerged at a not-too-distant intersection. They banked left and advanced. Several marchers led the parade with a glittering banner hoisted high declaring, "Hurley and Pratt's Three-Ring Circus." Behind them roved a troupe of performers, handing out flyers announcing the details of the circus, its location, the days it would be in town, and the ticket prices. A marching band followed the banner bearers and flyer distributors. The gold-braided cords and tassels accenting their uniforms gleamed. Sunlight slicked the brass and silver instruments. The music was so loud, Blister and Muck had to stuff their paws into their ears. Clowns tumbled and shuffled bow-legged down the street. Laughter cracked out of the crowd as the clowns pranked various spectators. One invited onlookers to smell the water-squirting flower on his lapel. Another clown shook hands with children and delivered shocks and jolts with the tiny electric buzzer concealed in his white glove. The fire-breathers came next, slathering the laughter into oohs and ahs. They dragoned by, spewing flame ribbons from their mouths. Magicians followed, extracting white doves from their black top hats, or flower bouquets from bystanders' buttons, or big brass coins straight out of children's ears. The jugglers passed in a swirling galaxy of tossed plates, batons, clubs, and blazing torches. Horses, costumed with sparkling blankets and feather-plumed head harnesses, pulled ornately carved and gilded flatbed carriages, or floats. Upon the floats rode performers posed in tableaus of familiar nursery rhymes. Acrobats bounced, sprang, and monkeyed down the street. Dancers spun and whirled. Their costumes were crusted with so many sequins they might have been a meteor shower. A procession of camels bobbed along, draped in bedazzled and bejeweled blankets. Elephants came next, decked in sequined caps and capes. They strolled single file, each one stretching its trunk to grasp the tail of the preceding pachyderm. Animal tamers lashed their whips to make tigers jump through flaming hoops. Lions lounged in rolling cages. Little monkeys with long coiled tails tipped their tiny fezzes at the crowd. The seemingly endless menagerie of animals forced Blister and Muck out of what felt like a hypnotized trance. They exchanged an uneasy glance.
You thinking what I'm thinking?
Blister asked. Indeed. I wonder how Gur is doing in her new home.
No, Blister frowned. We have to tell Putreska about these animals.
He observed the pulpy, faded light of the setting sun. They had enough time to either go home before dark or go to Putreska's caverns. He suppressed a grumble and said,
Come on.
Once in the caverns, they found Madame Putreska patrolling the dormitories. In these stony chambers, splashed with glowing moss, natural rounded cavities served as beds, burrows, and nests. At the moment, the diurnal animals, those active by day, were tucked into their beds, while the nocturnal beasts crawled out for their nighttime activities. Putreska settled any disputes, such as when a koala hogged a cavity sized for a polar bear. In those instances, she'd say, "Honey, none of us wants to be seeing a polar bear squeezing himself in a bed the size of a mixing bowl. Not twice, anyway. Get moving, or I crack you." To any creatures venturing out of the caverns, she assigned a detail of operatives. Those rats patrolled and protected the animals, as best they could, from any camouflaged Dr. Van Sangfroid traps. "I can't be believing a circus is being here," Madame Putreska exclaimed.
"After last time," Blister contributed.
"What happened last time?" Muck asked.
"We were on a nighttime rescue mission when the ringmaster woke up."
Putreska's giggles interrupted her explanation. Blister snickered too.
"And his boots. Remember when he tried to put on his boots?"
Blister hopped around on one foot while reaching for the other foot, miming the memory. He and Putreska laughed from their bellies. They laughed so hard they snorted. After that, only small collections of words piled up as they tried to recount events.
"Remembering the seal splash.
Oh, the acrobatics.
Yup. And the cannon.
Booming. The laughter melted Putreska and Blister in a shaking, chortle heap. Muck stood by, puffing impatient sighs. "Sounds like the last circus encountered a devastating destruction," he commented at last. Blister and Madame Putreska wiped away their mirthful tears.
"This one is about to be meeting the same fate," Putreska said. "Glad we came by to tell you,"
Blister said before he turned to leave.
"Wait,"
Putreska commanded.
"I have best idea ever. Why don't you two come and be helping me and the operatives bust up this Hurley and Pratt circus tonight? I am needing 2 more rats."
Blister opened his mouth to respond, but Putreska cut him off.
"Before you are asking it, the answer is yes, I will feed you. I was going to offer a full meal now, and a full meal after the mission is being complete."
To his own surprise, Blister had not considered setting a price. Nor had he been in the process of naming one when she interrupted. He did not, however, let Madame Putreska know any of this. Instead, he addressed Muck.
"Well, what do you say, Muck?"
"I've no overt objections to helping Madame Putreska carry out some clandestine commission at the circus," Muck said.
"Count us in."
Blister draped his arm around Muck's shoulders. Just when you thought Blister and Muck were total opposites. Apples and oranges. Turns out they actually have something in common. Bizarre. Even if their love of all things pirates is absolute, I'm not sure Blister's 1 for 1 and none for all credo leaves room for anything more than a fellowship with Muck. That's close to friendship. Close, but no cigar. Tune in next week to find out what happens when Madame Putreska and her operatives crash the circus. I suspect the action will be intense. In the meantime, Stop by blisterandmuck.com and use the contact form to tell me what you think will happen next. Do you know any good pirate jokes? Neither do I. But you can send your other favorite jokes, and I'll share them on the show. You can also reach the show directly through email. Send your correspondence to contact@blisterandmuck.com. While you're at the website, you can check out the links to fun videos and articles related to the many topics we discuss on the show. You'll never miss an episode when you click the orange subscribe button. You'll get an email alert as soon as the latest hijinks release. Many of you listeners already know that I created this podcast in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Living through a global catastrophe is hard on all sides. I hope that for a few minutes every week, parents and kids can cuddle up together and relax, laugh together, and maybe forget about some of your troubles. At a time when so many jobs have disappeared and paying the bills is out of reach for millions of families, this show comes to you for free. We don't provide a sample snippet and then charge you for premium content. Every episode, from start to finish, is free. That means the Blister and Muck podcast is 100% listener supported. And you can support the show in so many ways. One way is by telling your friends to listen along. Another way is to order your very own Blister and Muck t-shirt, hat, or face mask. A portion of the proceeds helps cover the costs of sound effects, music, and the web hosting needed to distribute Blister and Muck to Google and Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Deezer, Radio Public, YouTube, and other podcast platforms. If you're not into the whole wearing clothes thing, you can support the show through a donation. A pledge of $56 would put $1 towards every episode across the entire Blister and Muck series. $1 per episode comes out to $18 for all of Season 2. And that one single dollar keeps this show coming to homes across the country and around the world. Your $1 becomes a gift to hundreds of others. How considerate of you. It's such a simple and easy way to spread healing and goodwill during these difficult times. Visit blisterandmuck.com and click Support the Show. Special thanks to composer Roland Rudesitis for serving up the Blister and Muck theme song. Additional music from Kevin MacLeod and Mon Plaisir. Dave Insamas at freesound.org brought the marching band, while Drummate at thesoundbible.com provided the drum. Some animal sounds from Tony Phillips and Christopher. Daniel Simeon created the Drippy Cave. Mike Koenig beached the ship. From Pond 5, Sound Ideas played the Calliope. Art for Noise made the pond water. And Stormwave Audio shivered the timbers. Sincerest thanks also belongs to my family, friends, and fans. One for one, and all for you.